Okay, so this is a feedback video that I'm doing on some comments that are coming up in regards to some movements some African nations are doing. It's very important that African leaders go back to our roots in making sure they have advisors around them with spiritual discernment. The West and colonialism intentionally made us believe that our intuitions, that sixth sense, the spiritual discernment that is innate to us, it's automatic. It's part of our heritage, being the original people created by Yahweh, the Most High. We have that special ability that most have to conjure up. It's just automatic in who we are. And they envied that. It's something that they envied because they don't possess, they don't have. So what you can't have, you demonize so that they don't have. And they've played a very good trick on us. So I really hope that our leadership have spiritual advisors. Forget about all of the letters that Esau's and the world system tell you signifies that you're smart and you're capable, because their system, we know, has been full of lies, and they teach you to keep you dumb. They don't teach you to make you wise. So the wisdom of your advisors the African leadership needs are not the wisdom from those who've been educated in your oppressor's education. Go back to your roots. Find spiritual advisors that have an ability to look at plans, look at movements, and could tell you with a spiritual sense what the next move should be, and also who your allies are and who your enemies are. So I saw this, and right away in my spirit, I'm going to show you my post. Right away in my spirit, I was like, yes, this is a good idea. And all African nations should follow suit and follow what Zimbabwe was doing in regards to the gold standard. Now, there are someone says here, but they're wasting time, what they're waiting for. Exactly. Let's get going. I saw a feedback by this channel that was very negative in what Zimbabwe was doing. And you wonder if they're just pawns of our open enemy that use these platforms to discourage. But we need to get back to the gold standard. It's important. If you want to see the West crumble, the G7s, the EUs, all these that just printing paper money backed by nothing, and that's why they're inflated, go back to your standard. Go back to the gold standard. And you know what? Let's be creative. And this is why African nations need to start doing commerce and business amongst yourself, because they've made Africa feel that you're nobody, but they rely on everything that comes out of the motherland. The entire ecosystem, natural and business, rely on the resources and the minerals Africa is rich in. So if you're an African nation where they're coming to you and they're pulling out your gold, go back to the gold standard. You're rich in oil, go back to the oil standard. Your minerals, even cobalt. Listen, the things that they're coming to you for, and they're coming and they're raping it from you, they're taking it from you, they're giving you pennies for it, but then on their market, it's 10 times the value. And they lie and tell you, oh, we need to refine it. No, the diasporas who have been educated in the education system of the liars, and you have all the degrees, go back to Africa. Do a reversal brain drain. Go back. Take all of your skills, because all of these refineries, everything that they're saying that they have to take it out of Africa to do and then send it back to Africa. You have your geniuses who can do that. It requires all African nations, don't wait for diaspora. Listen, you guys are well educated. You guys are brilliant. They've intentionally attacked your intellectual, the truth about your intellectual abilities. They've intentionally attacked it. And that is why here in the diaspora, our young boys are the ones that they quickly put on Ritalin and put on all these different ADHD and ADD and all these prescriptions because they're saying, oh, they're highly functioning. No, it's because they're naturally wired where their brain is moving faster. And they attack our young children from kindergarten, from daycare. Man, they don't even get a chance to blossom. All of their educators already single out our children. And right away from JK, they already single out your child like your child is underperforming. Your child can't keep up. You put your children in French immersion, you put your children in any other curricular, they make your child feel like they're incapable. Like they do everything to make your child want to drop out, to make your child feel they're not capable. Listen, the things that our children in the diaspora have to go through, in Africa, you're surrounded by your own. You're attacking your own. The tribalism, I'm telling you, has to stop. They use that tribalism as the wedge in the first place. That is what they use in the first place. And we still have it going on and people highlighting all the different tribes. That is what they use as the wedge. That is what they used as the wedge. Every nation that has been divided up, each one of you has a resource that the West, China, Russia, somebody, Italy, Portugal, somebody, France, Germany, somebody is taking from you. Somebody is taking from you. Create your currency backed by that. What are they going to do on the stock market? All of a sudden devalue oil? You want the Middle East Arabs to burn down everything? They're not going to devalue oil. They're not going to devalue gold because you know how many of their elites have gold reserves and they have their personalized safety deposit box with gold bars. They're not going to devalue gold. They're never going to devalue the thing that they have been accumulating as their backup. They're not going to. They're not going to devalue gold. So you follow Zimbabwe. And within the African continent, see how you can support them. Those who are rich in your resource of oil, create your currency backed by your oil money. Those who has minerals, those who like whatever your resource is that they're coming there and they need because they have created a system that is dependent on your resources. So turn the tables around. Everything, all of their electric vehicles and all of their smart cities and everything that they're doing to depopulate and regulate people, it's now dependent on your resources. You are the ones in control right now. You are the ones who are in the power seat. But they're going to continue to make you feel like you're in a weakened position. You're in a strengthened position. If you can just open up your eyes and see. If you can just have some advisors around you for you just to just stand back a minute and truly have get a lay of the land. You are the hot commodity. You are the one everybody wants to go to Africa, come to Africa, all of these nations, everybody, Italy, everybody's sweet potting and sweet mouthing. And you have Benjamin Netanyahu and his Zionist lying, stealing identity people that's want to come to Africa. Everybody, why? Ask yourself, what is it? And they're the same one that want to insult our people and tell people, go back to Africa. But they're all running to Africa. Why? Just take a pause a minute. Why? What is it? It's because they are depleted. They need the resources to continue their consumerism. China is coming there because China needs the resources to maintain themselves as the powerhouse that is supplying the world of all the consumer products. Africa, you are in the driver's seat. It would require you to get and have advisors and leaders who are putting Africa first. You have some leaders there that are still puppets. They are still gatekeepers. They're making behind the curtain deals. They're selling out. I just saw a post. I'm going to show it to you where China now bought Niger. I'm like, what? Let me show it to you. I'm like, who are these leaders that are like, every time we feel like we're getting a breath of fresh air, we have one of them that is just like they're either ignorant intentionally or they're plants, they're puppet. How would you sell out? How are you going to sell an African nation to China? So now China has an African nation that they now own, not the port. They now own an African nation. I'm going to show this to you. I'm not lying. Watch.
China pays $400 million for Niger. The government of Niger recently signed financial agreements with China National Petroleum Corporation, CNPC, announcing a $400 million advance on future crude oil sales. The agreement signed by the Prime Minister of Niger and the Chairman of China National Petroleum Corporation provide for the joint marketing of Niger's crude oil. Under these agreements, China will make an advance payment of $400 million to Niger to be repaid from revenues generated by the sale of crude oil on the international market. This payment will be spread over 12 months with interest rate of 7%, according to information published by the government newspaper Sahel. Niger, as a major uranium producer, but also one of the world's poorest countries, has been producing oil since 2011, refining.
Listen to that. One of the world's poorest countries, but it's where the oils are coming from. They keep lying to you about your poverty, but they're taking from you the resources that's fueling their pockets and making them wealthy. But the resource that's making them wealthy is coming from your land that they're telling you you're poor in. And you have leaders like this who, as I said, they're either ignorant, so I don't know how they're in a leadership position. There must be some kind of skill, or they're intentionally acting like they don't know what they're doing. Because how are you going to make any deal? Yes, you can take the investments, but you don't sell out your country. And I made my statement there as well on their post. I'm going to show you my comments. I said, when will African leaders learn? Who put these people in charge of African nations? You never sell your country. Yes, you take investments, but you never sell your country. Now China has ownership in Africa. Great. The people of Africa will always be under oppression because of sellout leadership that continues to sell out Africa to those who hate, abuse, and show disrespect to our people in their land. Now they can do it in our land. I said, sad. They are running to Africa after they insult diasporans and tell us to go back to Africa when they treat us with racism, insults, and physical abuse. Then African leaders, I said, did African leaders forget the treatment that Africans received from them during COVID-19? We all saw the videos of how China was treating Africans. We all saw we saw the atrocities and the abuses during COVID-19. We saw it. We saw how they went door to door as well and pulling them out of their homes. They're sleeping on the bridges. We saw all that. What, you forget that? Then I said, I truly believe that most African nations have weak leadership over them. I hope these contracts can be revisited when nations have leadership that are visionaries and not ones that are nearsighted. I did another comment here when someone said here, I don't understand what happened. Is this a good idea or not? So I responded, bad, very, very bad. And the person asked me to explain. So I went into explanation, and this is what I said. I said, I did a post in the comments itself. That should begin the explanation of having your wheels turning with where this will go. These are Chinese. They are not our friends. They smile as long as they are benefiting from you, then discard you as a used towel after. They are not in Africa because they have respect for Africans. They are in Africa to take resources and find land mass to ship their people to. Watch. You don't think they are getting African citizenship for a reason? You think it's because they love us so much? Chinese always play a long game. We have a bad habit of thinking now for now. They think now for later. You'll see a Chinese run for president of an African nation in the future because of citizenship and birthing their children in Africa. So they become African and get their tentacles into our political system. So we already saw the issues here in Canada with their interference in our political system. We've already seen the effects of China meddling in Canadian politics to make certain party members win. And there's a big investigation in that now here in Canada of evidence that China influenced the outcome of Canadian politics by shipping in students and threatening the students here in Canada to vote for the candidate they want, or they will take away their visa. Threatening Chinese Canadians here if they don't vote for the Canadian politician that China wants. China threatens their family back home in China. There's a big investigation here going on in regards to the Chinese meddling in Canadian politics. And now you're giving them African citizenship for them now to meddle with the African politics there. Listen, China saw what worked for colonialism and they see Africa rising. So they're now there to put you back to sleep for another 400 years if they can. They saw how you allowed the Anglo-Saxons to do you. So now they're the new version of the Anglo-Saxons. But instead of having African puppets, they're going to put their own Chinese people there to be. And they know that they're never going to falter or waver. So they saw what colonialism did in the meddling of the African politicians. And they saw what worked and what didn't work. And they're never going to trust an African to be their puppet. No. They're not going to make you know all the hidden this. Nope. They're going to put their own there. So there's also many different nuances to this whole Chinese getting African citizenship and Chinese moving into Africa and having their children be born in Africa to have African citizenship. And now they're buying an African nation. Come on. Like what about this? Nobody at the Niger Council advisor? And then maybe he did have advisors, but maybe he sold out. And he's ignoring his advisors because he's already been bought and paid for. I don't know, but in this day and age, which African nation leader is doing this? You cannot plead ignorance in this time and age, in their 2024 calendar. There's no way any African nation leader in this day and age can plead ignorance. I didn't know. Are you for real right now? So let me continue. So I said it is imperative that African leadership have competent advisors around them. Those who are competent spiritually and in business when dealing with China and Russia, and for that matter, any outsider. And for that matter, even insiders, because you have insiders who are the gatekeepers for the outsiders. So you need some spiritual advisors that are committed to Africa. I continue and I said, we must return to our roots of valuing spiritual discernment in advisors. Not everything can be seen on paper. Most things are seen in the spirit. This is why they made us think that our African spirituality was something bad to distance from. They know it is our superpower that they don't possess. Only we do. They try to duplicate it with their Chinese spirituality, but they can't tap into what is the original source. Part of them coming is to tap into the spiritual lines within Africa. The dragon needs to rise. Just as it's seeing Africa rising, the dragon wants to rise again. It's going to try. It's not going to go down and just lay dead. It's going to fight to the end to see if it can thwart the outcome. I continue and I said, but not without the aid of Al-Kabilan's source. And Al-Kabilan was the name prior to them renaming and rebranding the motherland as Africa. It was called Al-Kabilan. Okay. So I continue and I said, Niger should take their money as investments, yes, but with a term that never allows China any ownership of Niger. You think China would sell any part of China to any foreigner? Niger and all African nations must go into these negotiations knowing that China needs Africa. Sit at the table knowing that you are the one in demand, not begging. As these leaders, as these leaders not looked around at the global climate of business, everyone wants to come to Africa. Why? Why now? I said, come on, guys, wake up. They need Africa. They are depleted. They have maximized their own resources and they need to have more. And they have none. USA is naked, bankrupt, and putting on a show. The West have nothing to call their own. Everything comes from China, and China is depleted. They need more resources to maintain their status as the world's producer. What African leaders should do now, that they know why everyone is coming, is to position Africa as the producer on paper and in truth as it has been all along. It has been Africa producing all along, but you wouldn't see made in Africa on things. You see made in China, because technically they take the resources from Africa, but then they send it back to China to keep their economy and their people working. And then you see made in China because technically it's made in China. But where did the raw material and the resources come from? And that's what I'm saying. Africa now needs to flip it and build your resources, build your refinery, build everything where the resources and from the beginning to the end product is on the motherland. So it is made in Africa, sourced from Africa, resources from Africa. The whole world needs to start seeing made in Africa so they get a wake-up call that everything that they're dependent on is coming from Africa. So stop telling Africans and Africa that they're poor and they're third world. I always hear the third world country, third world song. Who the hell is the first and second world? The last time I checked, we're one world. Even these classification and these social constructs. And then you guys believe you're third world. You're down there. The devil is a liar. We have one world. And we have one liar. And this one liar has been good in creating so much lies and deception. There's no third world. There's no second world. There's only one world. And as much as they want to call you third world, the first and second world need everything from the third world. So who's really important here? Listen, African leaders it's important that the people of Africa, because listen, at the end of the day, you are the ones that's putting these people in charge. And if you notice, all the revolutions is happening from the streets, from the grassroots. You're the one taking out leadership. You're the one supporting revolutionaries and revolutions. So it's not even a leadership anymore. I'm speaking for the people of Africa in all nations. Enough is enough. Your leadership is selling you out. Get rid of them and put people in position that is putting Africa first. They're putting you first. They're putting your children's first. They're putting the return of our dignity, our pride, and the truth first. Get rid of all puppets that are bowing down and acquiescing to West. It's the people of Africa that needs to rise up now. South Africa is having their election in May, a couple weeks from now. Come on, South Africans. Come on, South Africans. I heard about, let me show you. Hold on. So this is a leader that many has been talking about, Julius Malema. As I said, South Africa, you are going into your election. I believe it's May 9th. Don't quote me, but I know it's in the month of May. This is one of the names that's going to be on the ballot, but many of his representatives are going to be there in each parish and each region. So South Africa has an opportunity very, very, very soon to do a change.
We are one organization that if we are given a responsibility, it will not take us 3 months to reduce crime close to nothing. Because we will not be the kind of government that will smile with criminals.
So many African nations, you are in a moment of transition, in a moment of pivoting, and it's crucial that each African nation pivot to leadership that is putting Africa first. There is another figure that recently has stirred some water from Sierra Leone, the First Lady of Sierra Leone. Take a listen.
What Africa gives to the world, Europe don't have it, America don't have it, Asia don't have it. Because we are not mining in China, we are not doing any mining in America or mining in Europe. But they're doing it in every part of Africa. Not just Sierra Leone, go to Democratic Republic of Congo, go to Botswana, go to Angola, go everywhere there is mineral resources. It is the West and the Chinese who are there.
Welcome.
So again, strength, it is time that you see who you are. I'm telling you, that First Lady of Sierra Leone, this interview, it is making the waves. It is shaking up some serious waters. Africa leaders are rising up. They've already been there. We are now just seeing an intensity. And we have to thank Burkina Faso, Abraham Traoré, for honestly, when he did that move, it was like a ripple effect. Yes, we've had Malema. Yes, we've had many others. I'm not taking away from anybody else's shine and what they've done and their years of in the trenches. And we know time has a way of igniting a one extra thing on top of. It's that one thing that now does a ripple effect, and all of the hard work that has been done to create that moment, it's like it just intensifies. So all of the work, nobody take as if, what they've done has not gone unnoticed. The Most High sees everything you've done and has accumulated it all up for good. So when you have another generation that comes, it doesn't take that generation so much time because you've laid up the foundation. This is why it's so important that we find people who are not doing the work for recognition. And then when someone steps in because the Holy Spirit has sent them, you're like, oh, I was here all this time. I was here for 2 years. I was here for 15 years. And you want to celebrate and you want to, make it known your tenure. Listen, we're not moving with Esau's energy of tenure, seniority. That's not how the Holy Spirit moves, because many of you have been here for a long time. It's like you just got comfortable that you got the information. Calling it as it is. The Holy Spirit isn't moving like that, eh? The tenure business, who's been here longer. It doesn't work that way. And that's why I find in our community, it's the, oh, I was here, the whole pay your dues. The Holy Spirit don't work that way. The Holy Spirit works with the heart. And if you were doing it for a revolution, when that person comes, that is now the one to ignite, the one now to get the blaze going. You don't get upset. We talk about that story. Perfect example that just came to me. John the Baptist, we hear in the story, and Yahushua. And John says, yeah, I've been here, but there's one that's coming after me. Yeah, I baptize in water, but what's coming after me? Listen. And when John has been there, John's been doing the work. John could have been all upset. I've been here doing all this time. And now, no, John knows there's a process. John playing his role. And we need more like that in Israel, the true Israelites. We need more of that, where you're not here trying to I have tenure. You play your part knowing there is someone to come to take over. And they're going to capitalize on what you've done. So do what you're doing and build what you're doing with passion. And know that it is there as the foundation, as a springboard. It's a scaffolding. It's when you're making an amazing structure. It's not just the structures that comes up. There's a lot of working and framing and all the blueprints and all of the dry wall and all of this stuff that happens before you see. A beautiful structure isn't a beautiful structure because of it. Poof, it just showed up. There's a lot of foundational work that has to be there and to maintain that beauty for generations to come to see it. That's why we have so much of our ancestors' work still here for us to see, because of how beautiful the structure and the longevity of the structure because of the foundation. So the Holy Spirit is not moving with the tenure business. Because if you're doing it here to get your flowers and I've been here for all this time, and then your heart already has sold you out. You're looking for a celebration and you want to make people know how long you've been somewhere. That has already exposed you for exactly why you're being passed over, why you're being looked over, why it's not happening with you there. Have you ever stopped and instead of getting upset of who the Holy Spirit is sending or the person that's coming in that's making the moves on top of what's already there, have you asked yourself, how come you weren't able to make those moves? Because it either wasn't for you to do, that's not the plan, or it was for you to do, but there's something within you that did not make it happen. What was that? What are you really moving with? Listen, we're not here for we're in a different time. We're not here for the nonsense. So Abraham was able to do a ripple effect as a result of all of the foundation that was laid with those that came before him, that were assassinated, that were taken out, and those that were doing the groundwork, mentoring him. Though, there's a lot that's standing with him, behind him. We see him, But if we could see the trail of influence that has made him who he is, and that includes the ancestors that he's learned about that blazed the trail and they were taken out because of sellouts within and the external forces that did not like the fact that Africa dared to be independent. So let me tell you, we are in a time where you have leadership, first ladies, and many men and military, business, so many realms that are moving with the DNA of our heritage for such a time as this. And they're going to continue to ignite the next move and the next move and the next move. So this is why it comes back to what I'm saying. It's imperative that our African leaders surround themselves with people with spiritual discernment, so that when they're going to the tables with these negotiations with the Chinese and the colonizers of our past that still want to stay present, that you have advisors that you can say, okay, thank you, we are going to reconsider it. And then you go into your room and you bring out your advisors and they tell you what they feel, what they see. And the African people, it is time that you put leadership that are there to put Africa first. It's time that you get rid of those who are the puppets that's selling out your nations to China for like that amount is pocket change. I was like, what, that's the amount that's the worth of Niger. Listen, someone needs to figure out the rest of those details, because that did not sound legit. That did not sound right. That did not sound kosher. That did not sound palatable. That did not sound like ethical. There's so much, that number, that figure, the story didn't sound right. So please, someone figure out the fine prints for this Niger-China deal. And please tell us it ain't so what we hear. Please. And if it is, I am praying that there's something in the fine print that the Holy Spirit put in there where there's some clause where you can get out of this. Something. Because even ethically, there is no way anyone should do a contract like this. So there must be a way where another leader can look at this and say, I'm sorry what you thought you signed, but no. With all due respect, how is this number and this figure even equitable? And find a way to challenge it to show that this was done in poor spirit and it was not done with fairness. So something has to be done with that contract, because no foreigner is supposed to own any part of Africa. You come, you visit, you invest, thank you very much, but you own nothing. Africa is for Africans, and Africa is for the diasporas that have claimed Africa as part of who they are. We have Americans that don't want to say they're African and don't want to claim Africa. Fine, nobody's pushing you towards it. But it's going to come a time when you're going to realize, oh, yeah, but we're not pushing you. You don't want to claim it? Fine. Because you're absolutely right. We were in America before the transatlantic came over. You're absolutely right. And I already mentioned that in my previous video and explained how that is true. Both are true. We were the original people that was scattered from the first consequence from Nimrod, where we were scattered to the all four corners. So that was part of the scattering of us already being in the Americas. And then the second consequence was the slave trade that now sent a certain tribe of people. The ones that are chosen, those ones suffered that consequence. So yes, those in the Americas, you are absolutely right. You were there first. And just to let you know, wink, wink, newsflash, you are African. Well, the original wording before Africa. You are indigenous. You are from the original people, put it that way. You are descendants of the original people that came from the landmass that the Most High created man and woman from. Let's describe it that way. And you were scattered, and yes, your people were in the Americas before it was discovered by these Europeans and their story. And they discovered it with the help of our own people, from what I understand, the Moors, who assisted them in the traveling. So again, we have sellouts in every camp that we have them, and this is why we need to identify who they are within right now. And we have many within that fought against the sellouts. So when people tell you, oh, your own sold you out, they have no idea. You just ignore them because they're ignorant. Because in amongst those, there was a multitude that was fighting against them and sacrificed their life and died fighting against the sellouts who chose to be on the side of our oppressors. So they didn't find that because they're smart. They had guidance from our own. So listen, we have a lot of work to do within Israel. We have a lot of work to do within the original people of this land. We have a lot of work to do internally. And we could see it right now smack in front of us with the leadership in Africa that is still showing signs of gatekeeping and selling us out. So they're identifying themselves for us, which is great. We don't have to dig too deep. We can just look and see exactly who they are. But more importantly, the people in Africa are the ones that need to see and identify who they are. This is Lady O. Stay in action, faith, and possibility. Walk in and protect your light. Your purpose will find you. Say what you mean and live like you mean what you say. Take care.